Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and this is my process of getting solar installed. For the solar install, I chose All Energy Solar, and they have a solar ambassador program that you can sign up for, and I've signed up for as well. That then, if people go through and getting a quote of wanting to go solar and get solar installed, there is financial benefit to me or to anyone in that program. So I'm posting that link below if you're curious, and if All Energy Solar is in your state and you want to go with them or check them out, definitely go in the link below. But I want to put that up front now to really get into what I think about All Energy Solar, and hopefully that this isn't just a video on just about All Energy Solar, but more about when you're going through and making your decision to go solar, and you can hopefully ask some questions and get some details, and this can actually help you out with that as well. And this is going to be my thoughts of how I really see and why I went solar, right? Adding solar onto my house wasn't, a thing for me of that's going to be my only resource. Now, I do know people that have, off-grid systems, and they work great. So they really enjoy them. But for me, it was diversification. I did not go with a battery system. Cost was prohibitive for me to kind of go that route. So for now, it's just a solar system. Um, ran to the meter to. So I also then have the power company, which for me in Wisconsin here is We Energies, and then I also have a generator port so that if power goes out, I can switch over to my generator and then also have supplement power there for running the crucial things I need. And that's basically why I did it, right? There's just diversification in, I think, having solar. And eventually they knew that I wanted to expand the system. So at that time, I'm hoping battery technology evolves enough that we have improvements where it makes more sense and it's, more financially viable. For me, it was just too expensive to kind of cover stuff, and I just didn't want to go down that route. Now, um, I, I've owned the house now for about 3 years. So since I bought the house, and before that, I knew at some point I wanted to add solar onto the house. So in this last year, I started to be like, okay, I think I'm going to want to go down this route again and actually, follow through and get this completed. So I went through, and in doing so, I jumped around a little bit and landed. I was doing a lot of searching, trying to find local solar companies, trying to find, um, who might install solar, who does good, what products to use. And I've always kept my, going back to it and doing some research on solar, so I didn't have to do a whole bunch of jumping in and a lot of ramp of learning. I knew where I was. I just needed more identification on what products were good and everything else. So in doing so, I ran across this um, web page called Energy Sage, and they actually did a good job. You put in your information, your address and stuff, and then they go out and they get um, some information about other companies saying, hey, contact this person, they're looking to go solar. Other companies in the Milwaukee area, you should jump on that because All Energy was the only company that got back to me. Now, I did contact other companies. Some of them went commercial only, and then they pointed me to other directions to other local companies in the area. And that was fine, right? For me to go out and get multiple quotes, get multiple opinions, mostly of how they install solar and why it's there. I mean, every single one is selling you, which I'll get into the sales pitches a little bit. It's annoying. Um, I like facts. I'm an engineer at heart, so I want the facts. But you have, when you get started and all this other stuff, do not make a quick decision, right? I took multiple years of knowing I wanted to go solar, then, research on top of that. Then I decided to contact, Energy Sage and get all these companies to say, okay, here's bids. And that was from when I started to get, bids and talk to companies, that was 2 to 3 months after the 6 months of research. It took me about a year to really figure this out and to see who I really wanted to go with. All Energy Solar is not the cheapest. I think that they were some of the best, well-rounded throughout everything. Yeah, is there little things that they can fix here and there? Yes, but overall, I think that they did a good job and really made the process quite easy. Now, um, me wanting and having certain requirements was one thing that I always put up front with all the sales people. So I had a list that I wanted to make sure I can expand the system. I plan to expand my house. I plan to kind of switch the orientation of the garage, roof, and all that stuff. And in doing so, that's going to give me more access for more panels. So at that time, I was thinking, well, maybe I put a battery in. I added the panels to be basically completely cover all my usage, and to have enough so that I can have a backup system as well. And I wanted a generator port because then in the current time I don't have a battery system, but even if I did, if I needed to have a little supplement power before, let's say there's a gap, right, I can do that. So there was a generator port that I wanted, and then the expansion of the system, and can they expand the system. I also asked them, what happens if I want to re-side my house, do my roof, right? I want to rough it, right? Put new shingles on. What happens then? How that works? And they were good about answering it and getting back to me. They had solutions for all that, right? You just call up All Energy Solar and they'll take off the panels for you. Of course, there's a disconnect and all that other fun stuff with the energy company, but they were good about answering questions. So, jumping into the sales part of this, right? They, calling up, and the local guy here in Wisconsin, he was great. He, called me up. We set up a time. We had a good conversation, and you know, throughout the entire process, you will have your sales guy in communication with you, which I think is a huge benefit, right? You're dealing with your sales guy when you first get started, and then you go off to a project manager, and the sales guy is where the relationship was. So anything that you've kind of talked about, he can help relay that too, and he's kind of a good, I mean, he may not be a guy, but he's kind of a good buffer to have, to be like, I said this, is this happening or whatever else, and it's that good relationship that they maintain through that. I think sometimes you get lost in certain companies where they just hand you off to the next person and then be like, oh yeah, here it is. So um, that was really good. Now, they had a video call with me. That was the first kind of major call after the emails. He went over trying to sell me solar, of course, and going through everything. I wasn't looking for a sales pitch, right? I want the technical details. I already had my mind kind of made up that I was going to go solar at some point. So you trying to sell me on it is not, the best way of doing it. But that's me. For other people, that may be a difference if people are on the edge of going solar or not. Um, I think it would be better to try to sell the company and how All Energy Solar benefits the consumer. How they're there to support you, how they will assist you, they will answer all your questions. The benefits that I kind of had was that, yeah, going through with All Energy Solar, everything that they did, I kind of, sent them a lot of questions. I sent them a lot of stuff to try to see, I knew I was going to do a video about this. So I wanted to see if they're going to get a new customer, how they're going to treat them. So I was looking for supplemental energy, and I don't like the prediction of energy prices going up. Who knows, right? If we could predict the future, especially if I could predict the future, I'd probably be in a different business, right? It's a whole another thing that we don't know about. So do worst case scenarios, or do both, right? But if you're saying energy prices are going to go up, I can only imagine if somebody comes along a few years from now and says, well, you said the energy prices were going to go up, and now they didn't, they're still the same that they were, and the benefits of solar are not as great as what you said. You're going to have that huge complaint. And I think that's one thing that can be avoided, saying on current energy prices, here's what your system will look like if you don't go through with it, or if energy prices increase, I should say, here's another analysis of it, right? So you give that multiple analysis. Now that's something I did myself, so I know my payback on this system for what I have, and all the energy I use will be about 7 to 8 years ish, in that range, if everything kind of stays status quo. So that's something I took upon myself. But I think that's one area where in the sales, that when you're going through, could be a huge benefit. Now, I first did this in September of 2020 when interest rates were pretty high. Now, that's one thing that he kind of walked me through. And then when I called back in kind of December and or what was it, late November, early December, interest rates were way better. It made it so, it was that 7 to 8 year payback. It made it so me looking at it was like, okay, now I can jump on it. So there was that aspect of it too, is that waiting out the interest rates, because I got a loan for this. And my plan is to pay it off faster, but this loan, just a little bit on the loan, reamortizes after 18 months. So they're looking for you to put in your tax credit that you got on the solar system. They're looking, and once you put that in, and even if you throw in other money extra on top of that, it reamortizes so that your rate is, one for the first 18 months, and depending upon how much money you throw in, and if you don't put in your tax credit, it will then be higher than your first pay, than your initial 18 payments. But if you put a whole bunch of more money in, it will be, you know, and the tax credit, I think it stays the same. Otherwise, I was planning to put more on top of that, so it would be lower. So there's that to think about as well. Um, Throughout the entire process of the sales, right, and getting up to the loan and everything else, that was multiple emails, multiple calls. Um, the sales person was very quick to respond. I didn't have any, times where I waited, I thought, too long at all. So I like that, right? I like quick responses. Was able to get all my questions answered and explained. And if he didn't know the answer, this is my favorite part, is that he went through and he asked somebody. He said, "I'll get back to you and I'll go ask somebody about the answers." That's what I want to hear. I don't want it to say, try to make up an answer and me find out later that you were lying to me, because, yeah, to me that's almost breach of contract, because you're lying of what you're saying, about what the system's capable of, about what a panel can do, etc. So he was able to go through and really kind of talk about, stuff that he knew, and then if he didn't know, just get me the answer from somebody else on their team, which was really kind of, refreshing, that I'm going to go search the answers to you, the best information, and that's what I like to see from a company. Now, um, after all the sales and everything else, and I said, yeah, I want to go solar, you sign the contract, then gets into the process of you going to the project manager, and then they'll go through and help getting the design approved and everything else. So one thing I will say about other solar companies, All Energy Solar did not do this. So um, if you want to know what system I went with, who I went with, call me after it's installed. Um, don't call me every week. It is annoying. If you want, I'm more than willing to give you, hey, this is going to be something that's going to be installed in, May, June time frame. Mine was installed late May. So here it is, and you can call me back then, or would you like me to call you with the information? One reason why I go down that route is, who knows what would happen, right? What happens if, All Energy Solar decides not to do it, not to install, solar panels on my house, or whatever happens if, you know, something was denied, or there was a huge process, or All Energy Solar, change the contract on, or tries to change the contract on me, and breaches the contract, right? There's so many other things that can happen. Not that All Energy Solar did any of this, right? I had them install it. I'm just saying hypotheticals here, because you don't want to go down the route of, hey, having to go back and get your contracts, and you go into that company and they could be, well, I mean, if you're being annoying, I'm probably not going to choose you to begin with, but if and you're calling me every week, but if you're going through and it's a process here, right? I may have to go and choose you again. I may have to go back to the table and re-get a quote, re-get, a new installer, and you could be one of those options. So just think about that too when you're a salesperson trying to, call, trying to see what people went with, because I think that's a big deal, right? If you never know what happens, right? In the future, there's unknown. So kind of alleviate that. But that was one really annoying thing from one solar company local here in Wisconsin that I did not like. So jumping into the project management part of this. So that's the next step after sales, and that's when you start the design process. The project manager I had was great. I should mention, in the sales part of this too, they go through the solar panels and you kind of select which solar panels you want. All Energy Solar, when I did it, they had a standard solar panel and then they had premiums. I chose premium panels, and they had LG and REC at the time of doing it. I chose 18 REC panels that you'll be able to see on my roof. I think that the REC might have a little bit better snow load. They have braces on the back, and here, the way my roof is kind of shaped, I'm hoping that the solar panels help get some of the snow load off the roof. But since my roof is kind of hip roof, and where the garage is, it really has quite a bit of snow that holds up there. So I was a little bit worried about that. And just another little fun fact, I did not know this, but the power of the solar panels it'll still produce power with 4 inches of snow or less. Of course, it won't be as great as like if it was in the summer, but that was just another little fun little fact. I also have in-phase insight monitoring and the in-phase 7 plus microinverters. So that's basically my system. And that, in this design process, right, they allow you and take a look at your roof, kind of put up where the panels are going to be. They talk and, they pull the permits and they get kind of what your code is for your area. So I have to have spacing, at the bottom of my roof and then around my chimney. So near the gutters, you have to be, I think, 3 feet off, and then around the chimney, you have to be like 3 feet. So you could put more panels up there if I didn't have those restrictions. However, that it is for my area, for my little township here, and that's the way they do it. And in this design process, right, they send a person out to your house and comes checks the house it was about a month and a half after signing the contract. So on December 31st, I signed the contract. Mid-February, they go through and they had a guy come out here. He got up on the roof, took the solar readings, took pictures around the house, see where my current meter is, see where my current panel is, in my basement, my electrical panel, etc. Got all that, and then went back to them so that they could finish up the design and get something that hopefully it will work. During this whole time, I'm asking questions to my project manager, and she was, great throughout the entire process. Really answered questions quite quickly. Sometimes I'm quick on emails. Sometimes, if I read an email, I'll think about it. Usually, if an email comes in, I'm on it quite quickly, and I've read it. It just takes time for me to respond, depending upon how I want to respond, or if I have another question. And usually, I let it percolate because I want to get another question out there. Or if I'm responding and I have another question, I want to get that rather than shooting off a whole bunch of emails, which I'm known to do as well. So, but she was able to answer a whole bunch of emails, and I can, I like to ask a lot of questions because I like to know how it works, right? The engineer in me wants to know how it works. So that was one great thing about All Energy Solar, is that they really kind of did not complain one bit about the question. So if you're worried about that and you're going solar, I would say it's your house to begin with. So ask those questions, right? You want to know those answers. You want to know if you want to know how it operates, etc. Ask those questions because I think it's going to be beneficial to you down the road, and I think it also makes them a better company, right? These are questions people ask and want to ask. Well, maybe we can help fill them in if they have, or put a sheet together of what they are. So I've even asked for everything I got installed for the most part, right? I'm not asking for, wire this or, a new meters and all that stuff. I'm more panels, microinverters, the racking, stuff like that. So, one thing one thing that I think that maybe the sales could do too is when they're coming back in a design process, and maybe this is a design process thing, and they see trees close to your house where a, little squirrel could run onto your roof, they should go say, do you want, the squirrel guard, or do you want all this other stuff? And this is what the price is of it. Also in there, I did, in the project management part, I was going through and contacting my homeowner's insurance, right? Seeing what prices is for that, etc. Mine is only $1 or $2 a month more to be able to cover the solar panels, but that's one thing too that you want to go through and check is that, and that's one thing I did in the project. Actually, I did that in the sales part, but if you get to the project management, that's one thing you probably want to check out, maybe even before you sign the contract. But I just remember that that's one thing that you really want to do. So, and just be forgiving too, right? Some things, sometimes questions and emails get mixed up, and I get that, right? I've sometimes sent accidental emails or accidental messages to people that I didn't mean to, right? And to somebody else, and just be like, was this meant for me? And they help you out. So there was one little tiny mix up there, but it was quickly solved, and they said, yeah, oh yeah, it wasn't for you. And so I'm like, oh good, because I was like, I wasn't getting a battery when the email came in about a battery. I'm going, oh no, I didn't want a battery. No, not right now. Later down the road. But that's one good thing. So, and then 2 weeks after the guy came out to my house to do the solar management and everything else, they had a design to me. Now, I did adjustments to that design, so you get to adjust the design. I wanted to shift everything over as far as possible to the right of, when you look at my house and see the picture, I wanted panels shifted to the right. I think it looks better. My wife's a graphic designer, or used to be, and she likes it better like that too. So that was one good thing. And then after that, I was asking about the generator port. They needed me for some more stuff with the generator port, what I was thinking, and master electrician and everything else. So there was a little bit of work there. The generator port took a little bit longer than the solar side. However, if that's something you're looking at, you probably already know a little bit about what you want, so you can kind of point them in the right direction. And they did it. I mean, the master electrician that was out here did a great job. He already knew what he's going to do with it, so there was no problems there. Um, then they set up an install date, which for me was May 24th ish. I think, yeah, around there. Um, let's see. I have the date someplace exactly. So uh, May 20th actually was the install date for the solar panels. May 24th was cutting the power and then getting the you know new panel in, etc. So there was that, and then that was there, but you had to get approval from We Energies, for me, the energy company, and the town. So that was just a couple weeks after the design, and so I think that was in March or early February or early April that I had both the town approval and We Energies approval. Then from there, it's onto the install part, and then there's inspections and everything else. But that's basically what kind of the process is for up until the install, right? I chose black on black premium panels, RECs, with in phase I7 pluses, microinverters. So th- they're pretty standard today. They're pretty much the best microinverters out there at this time, right? Somebody can always come up with something better. So it's pretty straightforward overall. I could go and install, but I'm trying to leave that for the next video. I was impressed. I was pleased. Didn't really have any issues. I would recommend them, especially if you're looking for going solar. That they have. Let me look here. Right now, they are in. I will post their link below as well. They're in Iowa, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Hampshire, New York, and Wisconsin. So they seem to be expanding, and hopefully they expand more. They do a good job, and if they keep up this quality work, keep up how they do things, I think that this is a real good option for people to take a look at and jump in and do. But definitely do your research, go through and get as much information as you can, and I think that you'll have a better experience there, and hopefully that this has some information that you want to and it helps you out in the decision making process. Let me know if you have any questions as well in the comments below. I'll definitely answer them as well. And until next time, I want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for taking the time to help support Grail Overload and helping this channel grow. I really appreciate you guys. In this community is amazing. And until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.